should have
Oh
done.
yeah,
Yeah.
Playing with just everything about that team.
Yep.
But that's neither here nor there. All right, friends. What do you say? A little PGA DFS live before lock on a Wednesday. What better things could we be doing with our time? I'm talking about the AT&T Byron Nelson. There are a couple things, but it's in the top 5, and that's all that matters. Here's Stokastic. Yeah, that's true. We've got you covered. I am Ben Rasa. That is Geoff Ulrich. You know the drill. The PGA Championship is on the horizon. The warm-up. We're going to tune up, just like the golfers, just like Adam Scott and Scotty Scheffler. They're prepping to optimize for next week. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to make some money here, and then we'll have even more money for the major. That's what we're about. I see you all in chat, ready to rock. You seem ready to rock. Are we ready to go here?
I'm ready, man. I mean, look, it is what it is. Again, it's one of these little variance fests where the birdies are going to be flying. Oof. The weather could be dicey. And you know, like there's going to be stops and starts. There's going to be weird names on the leaderboard, but we can make money off it, or at least we can attempt to make money off it. And that's the main thing. And look, I mean, it's golf. I mean, there's no better sport to bet on in the world, in my opinion. So, and play DFS in as well. And that's what we're going to do.
It's just absolutely fantastic. I like it, as much as I like to complain about these weeks, and I think I'm well within my right. There's this also week, yes, you're like there's definitely I can make an easy case for why I can complain. There's also a lot of stuff that you get this week that you don't get at the PGA Championship, because most likely a major is going to be won by an elite player. That's not the case here. There are names that we're going to talk about on this show that have legitimate chances to win for the first time in a long time, all sorts of things like that. And I love that. And I thought last week was kind of a middle ground. That was a major level field. Quail Hollow is absolutely no joke whatsoever. But we did kind of see that. Of course, I'm rooting for Xander, just never, ever gets there for me. Wyndham Clark, who's a damn good player, he breaks through, not on a week that I really expected him to. He was very popular as well.
I know. And look, I mean, I said before, I thought we were going to get a player down below, like 50 to 1 or bigger kind of range. And it happened. It just, you know, we saw signs from Wyndham Clark, and he is big off the tee. And in a lot of ways, Wyndham Clark is like, he's like Bryson Light. Like, he just smashes it. His putter can get going. When he's not good, it can get off the rails pretty quick. But like, he has definitely turned a corner. He can now hit his approaches, you know, in an elite kind of category. And I was surprised he did it there too. I mean, I was expecting Wyndham Clark to win, like, you know, the Detroit Golf Club, whatever it's called, the Quicken or something, you know, something like that. Not come in and face down Xander, who's a pretty hefty character when he's in contention. And other guys. So good for him. And I think as we go on, like, I think you're going to see a little bit more of that. You know, we're at the point in the season, some of these guys have got confidence. They're playing well. And there's other players who could potentially do it. Maybe even this week. Who knows?
We also see, I mean, again, if everyone plays their A+, that's a different story. But there are so many guys on tour that the difference, this is my opinion, the difference between them and the best players in the world is consistency, not talent. It's Wyndham Clark shows flashes of this, and then he goes away. And that's the only difference. We saw the skill set, just fantastic from him. And there's no doubt he can do that. He just doesn't do it consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, consistency has been his issue all career. Like, he's put himself, even before last week, he had put himself in contention a lot, like bigger tournaments before too. And like you said, he just, when it comes to Sunday, shoots 73. And it just doesn't happen, but he did it. And I think that, again, like, we're seeing like a bigger portion of it now from Wyndham Clark, that it's more consistent. I think you're going to see more consistent play from him coming up as well. So
absolutely. Let's get into it though. Scarecrow, I got you. Don't worry. I will find a time to let them know. You didn't even have to super chat. Really do appreciate that though. I know there's withdrawals all over the board. People are dropping like flies. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get into it. Let's start with where we always start, with Rainmakers. They sponsor this show. They're a new format. You see it on DraftKings. I know in the lobby, a ton of tournaments are labeled Rainmakers, up for grabs, hundreds of thousands of dollars, $350K in prizes this week. First things first, get your free pack. Start there. I say it every time. The link is below. Check it out. See what the format is. If you want to participate, you might as well get those cards. See what you get, and then build from there. Again, it's not going away anytime soon. This is just a format that we're all learning on the fly. I've seen a lot of screenshots with Rainmakers, so I wanted to give them a quick shout out right off the bat. This week, man, I don't know where to put the weather. Like, do you want to start with that before we even get, because the weather could play a role?
Yeah, I think it's probably actually a good place to start. I mean, the course is, like it's Tom Weisskopf design. They changed it to a par 71 this year. It's really not going to play any different. One of the shorter par fives is now a longer par 4. It's still a soft course with big greens, tons of room off the fairway. Guys are going to be able to go at the greens. And the thing is, like, the weather, it's not like, even with the rain in the forecast, we've seen rain at this event the last couple seasons, and all it does is soften up the course. So even if there's stoppages, guys are just going to be able to come out and start firing at greens. There's been rain, obviously, already there's rain in the forecast tonight, I think. The Thursday, Friday actually don't look that bad at this point. We may actually even, it looks like the updated forecast we may get some clear skies, but then Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be start stop. So there's nothing you can do. I don't think stacking is a thing. I just think that it's going to add another layer of, if a player maybe is playing well and then goes into the break and he comes out slow, it's going to hurt him. And it's just going to add the variance, unfortunately, to an already variable event where it's easier and it's really just an iron and putting contest. So not much stress around the greens this week. I'm anticipating even the wind doesn't look too bad for Texas. I think you're just going to get a repeat of what we've seen, which is 24, 25 under. And whoever putts the best and hits their irons the best is going to win.
Couldn't agree more. Just one of those weeks where you got to go low. The weather, it's going to be madness. Now, there's a major on deck. They can't be like finishing Tuesday. That's just not going to work. They're going to have to do what they can. I don't know how that's going to work. I have some tee time stacks, but other than that, I don't think it's going to be that much actionable content.
Yeah. Like you could easily get a stoppage, right? Like a thunderstorm comes in and it's like, oh, it looks like I have the right wave. And then they stop and then they start in great conditions so I mean, it's just one of those things where I would personally just ignore it and like play the players you like, because I think it's going to be too hard to predict. Just it's Texas and thunderstorms, man. Like it could happen. They could come by, they could all miss, and who knows?
True story. So again, it's not anything overly informative. That's just something that popped up last couple minutes, last couple hours with the weather emerging. So I did want to get to that, but we've been doing this every week. I think it's kind of almost good luck in a way. You build some lineups, then we take a step back. We talk about the players, and then we build lineups at the end. What do you say, Jordan Klein? You want to build a couple lineups? Go a little lineup generator. You guys have seen this. I know I've said this before. When the majors come around, obviously a ton of people flock to the tools and flock to the lineup generator. Check it out this week. Get used to it. Do some tests. It's below. It's available. First of all, it's awesome. You're going to see it in action right now. You click in. I always go to DraftKings. And this is a great week for it because you don't have to lock, when you go contrarian lineups or anything like that. You don't have to lock someone, but Scheffler's so good. I want to see what the Scheffler lineups look like this week. He's going to be mega popular. Sure. He's an elite player. And boom, in 2 seconds, all your lineups are going to be generated here. You're going to be able to sift through them and say, I want certain ones, save them. These look like garbage, discard them. The more you click, the more options. You get your exposures in your player pool. And then you have a kind of that broad picture of, okay, if I play Scheffler, these are kind of what the allocations around him are going to look like. You see a lot of mid-range plays. Luke List, that's real scary. Tom Hoagie, guys like that. You always have the options on the left-hand side to 1v1, 2v2. You can click into these lineups. Again, this is a tool. We just built lineups in legitimately 30 seconds. Effective lineups based around our tools, Geoff. And I know that's something you've always advocated for.
Look, this is a great week to use it too, because I think there's 2 clear ways because of the discrepancy between like the tiers of players. Like you want to lock in Scotty Scheffler lineups and see, but I mean, I really like the stars and scrubs approach. So like if I would be using this and if you were doing the same, I would be trying to see, like, can I get Tom Kim in there, Hideki, and maybe Hatton, and see what I come up with? Because I think that it's viable. I think that even you go down in that high 6K range, I don't think there's much difference between the high 6K range and the low 7K range, guys. And I think that's going to lead to some good lineups like that. So if you lock those 3 guys in and then you go and you throw it in our lineup generator, man, like it's going to save you time. It's going to give you all the different options. And, you can just pick out as many lineups of that as you want. And then you can go to a different build. You can go to a balance build and lock in some mid-tier guys you like. So, yeah, man, give it a try if you haven't. I mean, it goes well with our projections. We'll talk about through the show too, but really good week. I mean, to use it. We got the PGA coming up next week as well.
Last thing I'll say, and again, it's right below. You can test it out. You're talking a couple bucks a week here. It's under $10 a week for this tool. What I use this for is I run different ones and I take like my top 3 from each type. Like I'll do some Scheffler lock builds. I'll do some like balance builds, chalky builds, and I'll pick a couple from each. And then I have like these separate portfolios of them. I don't just say like, oh, my whole week is determined by Scheffler lock 100%. I don't build like that with this tool. You can, but I don't personally.
You could. Yeah. No, but I like that approach too, because, and then it lets you see what the different lineups are like too, right? So absolutely.
Anyway, now we talked a little about Craig Ranch, Trinity Farm. I don't know what goes on here. We've got a couple years of course history. I want to actually start with something that I mean, we never start with this because how often do I get to say this? Do you think there is something to when you have a guy who's won back-to-back like this at a course, do you look at him and say, okay, he does something that we need here, and I want to build golfers that resemble KH Lee? Or do you say, I don't know what we take from that? Like, how do you approach something where he's a good player, but it's not Rahm winning back-to-back, it's KH Lee?
So yes, there is actually. That's a great question, actually, Ben. But because there's 2 things I take from guys like this in situations like this. First, where else did that guy play well? And I think that there's actually when I got on, because look, I'm just going to do a self brag here. I bet KH Lee in 2021 at this event. He's 175 to 1. One of the things that drew me to KH Lee that year was the Tom Weiskopf connection. Tom Weiskopf also designed TPC Scottsdale. KH Lee was second there. The course is a very similar setup. It's a little bit more difficult on TPC Scottsdale, but for the most part, wide open venues, space off the tee. It's kind of like a very approach driven, and it's a scorer's course. If you hit your irons well and you can find the putter, you're going to put up low numbers on both courses. So that drove me to him. And then I said, KH Lee is a guy, his irons have been progressively good for a couple events. He just needs to find some negative regression with the putter, or some positive regression with the putter, and negative regression. That's Luke List.
That can't be.
Some positive regression with the putter. And these are softer greens. If he's going to find it, it's probably going to be on a place like this. And that's the kind of prototype I want. I want guys who are doing similar things on similar courses and good trends coming in with the irons, and maybe are just overdue for a good putting week. And I texted you a guy like that right off the top of the week. We'll get to him, but that is the prototype of player I want. I want a guy who's got that elite iron skill, but maybe just isn't quite. Maybe he's just been holding back, hasn't quite hit it with the putter yet. But this is going to be a good week for him to do it. I think that's a good game plan this week. So I definitely look at KH Lee as kind of the prototype, and you can work off him a couple different ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to it. Absolutely, I get it, but I thought that was an important starting point just because that's not a normal guy to win twice, and I think you have to pull something from it. It doesn't mean that's the only way that you can win, but I think it's important. But let's dive into the top of the board. The floor is yours. Spieth withdrew. Scottie Scheffler is $1,800 more expensive than Hatton. How do you approach a guy like this?
So it's funny because we just had this week, except it was Rahm, right? So it was a little bit different. We did have I would say that there's still 2 tiers this week. It's just that the second tier isn't just Tony Finau. It's Day, Hatton, Hideki, and Tom Kim, right? So I think that changes things a little bit. And I also just think that it being Scheffler instead of Rahm changes things a little bit for me. Again, this isn't like a fade Scheffler statement, but I would be less inclined to say I really want to go over the field on Scheffler. I think that being field average, maybe even below on Scheffler this week, I think that's the play. I really do. He hasn't played that much golf after the Masters. He wasn't in the same kind of form that we've seen from Rahm. We're talking like small things here. Like the form that Scheffler has shown has been great. but he hasn't quite been to that Rahm level. So again, you have to give him a tiny bit less respect. And then I also think that, with the kind of event, the PGA being next week, the rain, this is just going to be another kink that maybe we didn't have in Mexico. So as where I was sort of saying, Rahm is almost a must play in Mexico and probably better off overweight. I think there's also just enough underneath him where you can stack 2 or 3 of those guys, and I think you get just as much or better upside. Whereas before in Mexico, we just had Finau there. So again, not like a fade Scheffler statement, but I would be more comfortable being like field average or underweight on him personally.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you kind of just have to know what you're getting into. I don't really stress about these decisions because I'm pretty content knowing that if you want to go balanced, there's a real chance that you get completely punished, and you just have to live with that when you fade. Not even full fade, but even if you're underweight on a guy like Scheffler, if and you want to talk about TPC Scottsdale, I hope those splits, my God.
Maybe not the best guy to figure.
It's a dangerous game on a lot of fronts.
It is, yes.
You just have to be willing to do that. Now, if he doesn't win, if he's just middling, you're at a distinct advantage because instead of playing that 6,600 guy, he's a 7,800 guy potentially. He's an 8K guy, and that really makes a difference this week. So Scheffler, I'm kind of indifferent. I'm definitely going to have exposure. I'm not jamming him by any stretch. I hope he doesn't define my week. I don't think he will. I want to ask you, though, about the guys in the quote-unquote, I mean, they're still in the top tier, but they're the next tier. Yeah. And that is Hatton, Decky, I guess Tom Kim, and Jason Day, who's going to be extremely popular. What do you look to there? I mean, Jason Day is pushing crazy ownership right now.
Yeah. And look, again, our tools are fantastic. They have Scotty Scheffler ranked head and shoulders above. That's not shocking. Day is the leader in the second tier, but you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt because, like I said, the 4 players in that range, Day, Hatton, Kim, Matsuyama, it's real close. But what's not close is the ownership projections on them because Day is flying above everyone else. To say I'm a little shocked is an understatement. What we've seen from Day is that he got vertigo at the Masters. Didn't really show anything last week, which is fine. Like, he's shown it. He's shown he's back, and a little rust and missing the cut isn't that big a deal. But to come in and be like the most owned player in an event like this, that's a little shocking. I mean, I vastly prefer Hatton, and I mean, as tournament plays, I just prefer Matsuyama and Kim as well. I really like Tom Kim this week, but I think Hatton is getting a little disrespected. This is a player who was 3rd last week. We've seen it from him when his ball striking is on. I mean, this is a player who's already put in multiple top 5s in tougher courses. Hatton's won once on the PGA Tour. So the idea of just him coming in and being like, oh, this isn't a big deal, I don't need this, I think that's a little outlandish too. I mean, this is a player who hasn't won in a while. Like I said, 1 win on the PGA. Love to change that. I think Hatton is a really, really nice play this week. And I think that's kind of like the guy I would be looking to. If you're looking for that, that Finau Rahm scenario where maybe it's just the second guy down, I would be looking at Hatton and not Day personally. But I really like Tom Kim as well. I talked about maybe stacking this range, and I really do like that. I mean, I think Tom Kim hit the ball really well last week. We're talking about the KH Lee prototype. He's just due for a little bit of positive regression with this putter soon. And this is an easier course. Tom Kim's played here before. He's from Dallas. I'm really surprised. I thought people would really just be pounding it. And we'd be sitting here Wednesday and be like, yeah, Tom Kim's going to be like 40%. What are we going to do with this? It's not the case. I'm quite fine going past Day and going Hatton. So really like Hatton. Like I said, I think Kim is a good tournament play. And I'm into Hideki too. That TPC Scottsdale connection. He tore this course apart last year, man.
Tom Kim is someone that I perpetually am shorting, and for various reasons, but I bet him first time probably ever that he's been on my betting card. I just think this is a great spot for so many of the reasons you highlighted. I was impressed last week. Wyndham and Shriners are his wins. The thing I really like, it's young. He's a young player. Struggling with the putter, no doubt about it. When he won, he gained 6 and 12.5 strokes putting. So he might be one of these guys where he's an overall bad putter and he has 4 tournaments a year where when he gains, he doesn't gain 1 stroke, he gains 8 strokes. And that's what you want. That's the Cam Champ formula. Fratelli is like that. These random guys who win occasionally, and then they're garbage the rest of the year with their putter. I think Tom Kim might be in that bucket, and I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know what to do with Jason Day. I'm fine with the play. I just don't know if I can get over, because you have to allocate like almost half your lineups to get some leverage there.
Yeah. It's funny because like when I was writing up our first look article, I'm like, this is probably a good spot for Day to bounce back. But then you start adding it up and you look at the other players in the field and you're like, what has he really done to gain that much respect for me? And then you start looking at Hideki's record and you're like, well, he's going to be lower owned. And by the way, just a note on Hideki, went over to get treatment on his neck in Japan. He's been practicing for over a week now. It looks like all systems go here. So I don't have any hesitancy. I like the fact that he's trending as the lowest owned. And I think he's a great second man in. Like I said, whether you prefer Hatton or Kim, I've also just made lineups with all three. When we do the lineup building, we'll get there. But I really like the looks of them, to be honest. So I like all those 3 players. It's like you. It's not necessarily being out on Day. It's just like, man, if everyone's just going to pile in on Jason Day here, this feels like danger territory. So
definitely danger. And this is something I'm going to just say this, not because I think it's overly actionable, but I feel pretty strongly that in a week like this, if there is bizarro weather and delays and guys are playing like garbage, you're going to see withdrawals during the tournament. Like if Day or Decky, people who have the PGA Championship on their mind, if they're 2 over and they've got 8 holes left on Friday and they're stuck and they're not going to finish till Saturday, they're peacing out, in my opinion. Goodbye. Now, you can't do anything like that. You're playing them because you think they're going to play well, and they're not going to leave if they're in 6th. Like, that's just not going to happen. So I don't really worry about it, but you heard it here first. There's going to be some in-tournament withdrawals in this one.
Yeah, and again, like if we're looking at the top players, I mean, Day is the biggest risk. I mean, he's shown it. Like he's shown it that in these situations, sometimes he'll just check out. I'm not anticipating any of these players to do that, by the way. Like they are here for competitive practice. No. They're going to do it. They're going to stay. They're going to try and get in 4 rounds. So again, it's not something to worry about, but if we're ranking the biggest risks here, Day is certainly at the top of the list. So yeah,
no doubt about it. Let's finish off this range and then we'll get into the mid range. So it's amazing. The guy, we use him as the prototype for the builds this week in KH Lee. And he's the only guy up here who's projecting just under 10%. Now you're paying the extreme tax, but
yeah,
KH Lee's playing pretty good golf on the flip side. If you want to look to the positives,
he's fine. I mean, it's such a weird spot.
Really weird,
because like Kuchar's under him. Everyone loves Seamus Power, and they're objectively those guys are probably better players. But there's a reason why KH Lee plays well here. He's a pretty elite iron player when he gets those clubs in form, and he's in form right now. And you just mentioned the Tom Kim putting thing. KH Lee is the perfect example of a guy who's a bad putter, who when he gets to certain courses will absolutely light it up with the putter. He's done it at Honda a couple times. He's done it here. It's the perfect spot for KH Lee. So again, like you have to have some interest, and this is where the Stokastic guys, I can't recommend it enough. If you're not using the tools, check it out for a week. Just get the ownership. This is where it comes in so handy. KH Lee is easily going to be the lowest owned player. Well, Siwoo Kim's pretty much down there too, but actually no, he's lower owned than Siwoo Kim. Excuse me, he's going to be the lowest owned player in the 9K range. So pardon me, under 10%, as Ben was saying. Great leverage play, and I'd have no problem going to it. I mean, you don't need him to win. He's certainly proven that, if he makes the cut here, he can get hot with the putter on the weekend. So
it would be, I mean, he's honestly a serious threat up here because
here's a great question. Who do you think has a better chance? Who would you put as a better chance to get to 20 under this week? KH Lee or Adam Scott?
KH Lee.
Yeah. I agree. On this course and these conditions, I would take KH Lee as well. So
would I. Now, I think I would certainly take Adam Scott. If you told me who's more likely to make the cut and come in 25th, I would say Adam Scott.
Yeah.
But when you're targeting these guys, that's not all you're looking to, because Adam Scott plays very consistent golf. I was super impressed with him at Quail Hollow. He played really well, but he was pretty adamant himself. He said, I'm making a bunch of cuts and I'm doing nothing with it. What about Matt Kuchar? Let's close he's the flat 9, makes sense, can roll it, all win the short game. His stats last week were a joke.
Crazy stats last week. Like, what are you doing out there?
Yeah.
Did he chip in like 10 times?
I don't know.
I don't know what you do with that. I have no problem with Matt Kuchar. I really don't. The putter's rolling. The ball striking may not have been good, but again, like, we're going to an easier course where, you know, like, it's just easier for a guy like Kuchar. He's not going to be stressed off the tee. So I think his ball striking will probably take a little bit of a step up. And even if the putter regresses a bit, again, is he hitting it well enough to get to, like, you know, the 20 under mark? Maybe not, but he's 9K. Siwoo Kim, don't know really what he's doing. I'm not like out on power or anything, but again, it does seem like a power week where everyone's just kind of going to be piling in as kind of like a safer play. Although he's not like projecting with that much ownership, but I really have no problem with Kuchar. I think it's fine. I'm actually going to be targeting him. I already have in some you know, parlays on other sites and things like that for rounds and birdies. I just think that his game is there and he's pretty confident and he's played well here before. So not much to say. I think he's fine.
Let's open it up to kind of that top of the mid-range. You mentioned, Seamus, you've got Maverick, Taylor Montgomery, who's an elite putter, and he's lost I don't know if he ever had the ball striking, but if he did, it's gone. That's for sure. Benyon, Tom Hoagie, Min Woo Lee, another guy who can't strike it at all, but dangerous player. This range is, I want to talk about these guys before we get to Jaeger, because I got a lot to say about him, as do you. What do you make of the upper eights?
Yeah, the upper eights this is where you roll the dice. And if you're right, you're going to look real good and you're going to get some really low ownership on players who have proven like that they can go low. Maverick McNeely could come in here and gain 9 strokes putting just because we've seen KH Lee hit his irons well and kind of dominate there. It doesn't mean that we can't get a guy like McNeely who just becomes neutral with his irons and just hits it okay and then gains 10 strokes and he can't win. McNeely's got 5% ownership. You know, our guy Benny Yan, he's played well at TPC Scottsdale. I kind of like that connection. It's a little bit disappointing last week, but you kind of got to give him a break, I think. It's one missed cut. He wasn't terrible. Really, the only player I'd probably just take a hard stance on is Montgomery, but I could even see him just pop up again. I just feel like we were kind of eventually proven right on Taylor, and I'm just not really sure that I necessarily want to start buying back in yet unless we see something. So I would say like the guys like McNeely and Power, by the way, who isn't going to be popular. It looks like he's projecting with like 6 or 7% ownership is in this bucket too. These guys catch heat with their putters here, man. I mean, they're going to be low owned plays, and this whole range is just it's kind of like what you'd say a dead zone. They're gambles. None of these guys are like off the charts right now, but they all have the upside to do it for a week in this kind of field.
So that's the thing. It's like you just cumulative, the laws of whatever. There's 5 or 6 of them. Someone's going to have the hot putter. Like if Taylor Montgomery gains 10 strokes putting, watch out. If he doesn't, Maverick might. If he doesn't, Seamus might. Like these are all those type of players. I don't like this range a ton by any stretch. I want to ask you, because we just talked about a handful of guys that are probably going to do it putting centric. What do you make of Min Woo Lee? Because Min Woo Lee also he's really hard to break down.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's actually a very good case for like to be bullish on Min Woo Lee this week. I mean, we're talking about a player who's won over in Europe. He's actually won on an Open Championship kind of course, which I kind of like the correlation for this week. It's the Scottish Open. This is a very wide open course, and you know he's a top 50 player in the world. There's not many top 50 players in the world in this event. So just from a pure talent standpoint, I think like there's a case where Min Woo Lee at 8,400 should be really, really interesting. It's the player we saw push Scotty Scheffler at the Players for a little bit. He's really talented, man. Like he's a player. And I think in this field, people are just kind of like, oh yeah, like he hasn't done anything. He's missed a couple cuts. Again, like this is a wide open field, wide open course. I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but like I do kind of, if you're making balanced builds, I think this is such a good range to go with a guy like Minwoo, maybe McNeely too, because those are the type of players who can spike here. And if they spike, your balanced build, those are the kind of guys you need, the lower owned plays in this range. So I'm actually pretty bullish on him. I bet him first round leader too, just to take a little bit of a piece, but I consider betting him outright too. I think it's like fair. I mean, he's just a player who, if he pops, he's going to start looking around being on Saturday and be like, oh, I'm better than these guys. And he may just win. So I like him. I don't know if what he's going to do. Like you said, he's an impossible player to figure right now because we don't have any recent form. He's kind of crap. And he was just kind of doing it mostly with the putter, but he's got the talent, man. I'm telling you, like he will break through in one of these events one day. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, again, I'm waiting on a lot of these guys. So let's get to the bottom of the eights because now it gets serious. First of all, Aaron, I want to say this. Aaron Wise is back. He took a break for mental health. It's good to see him back. I just legitimately have no idea how you know where he's at. So I'm taking mostly a wait and see approach there. We haven't seen him.
I think too, in this kind of event, Ben, like he's got to come out and like really light it up with the putter. I'd be pretty shocked if Wise put in like a 63 at any point in the week. If he puts in like a couple 4-unders and makes the cut and finishes 40th, that's probably the kind of upside you're looking at. So I think he's just good just to wait and see. It's tempting. It's really tempting. He's still very high in player. I'm sure we'll see it for him, but I'm not doing it.
All right. Now we're getting to the low eights. Sunday, May 7th at 6:03 p.m. I got a message from none other than Geoff Ulrich, and it said, Jaeger next week for all the monies. Hold me to this on Wednesday in case I change my mind. Take it away, sir.
All right. Again, I'm doing research on Sunday, writing the article that goes up on Stokastic Monday morning, and I'm thinking like KH Lee prototypes here. What are we looking for? Guys who haven't putted well lately, but they've been hitting it well. They could potentially come in, just smash it on this course and just give themselves birdie chances after birdie chance and just finally line it up with the putter. Guys who've traditionally been good spike putters. Jaeger just pops right off. I mean, played well last week. He finished 27th, Ben, and lost 4 strokes putting. That's really good. Like that's a guy who's out there confident, and he's just waiting for it to click to me. So I look at Jaeger right now as a bit of a coiled spring. A couple events ago, he gained 8 strokes on approach. It really does remind me of KH Lee, when I was in 2021. And again, we're looking at guys who could potentially mirror what Lee did. Jaeger is not this bad a putter. He's never been this bad a putter throughout his career. At points, he's been a very, very good putter. And he's been a good putter on bent grass too. So we're trying to time it a bit, but again, like I don't even really feel like it's timing it. Like it's just that this is going to be an easier course, and some of these guys who haven't been putting well, I think are really going to come alive. And I think Jaeger is prime example number one. And again, we've talked about it. I mean, he's almost turned and been into a little bit of like the Russell Henley guy who he's cruising along. His approaches are off the charts almost every week now. And when the putter pops, it's going to pop, man. Like he is going to pop. So I think it's a great spot for him. I really do. I'm sticking to the call. I'm not backing away from it. And you know what? I think the weather helps a guy like Jaeger too, maybe. Like he's a guy searching out here for a win. If his putter heats up, he's going to feel confident. He's going to want to stick around. Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, listen, one of the things I struggle with sometimes is separating this blanket concept of when his putter pops, but what he's doing. The difference between like him and Luke List, when Luke List's putter pops, maybe he will make some cuts because he's been missing every week because of his putter. Jaeger, I've been playing him and his putter hasn't done anything and he's fine. It's not great, but he's making the weekend. He's coming in like 26. So you're not drawing to that. That's what you're drawing to win the event. You're still have outs if this guy puts together another flat or slightly negative putting week. And I couldn't be more excited to target him in this spot. I think he makes a ton of sense. Hadwin also makes a lot of sense, though. He's at 8,100. Yeah. And Bez is at flat 8K, and I think he might be my favorite play of the week. He was my first bet of the entire week was Bezadenhout. I think all 3 of these guys are firmly in play.
I agree. I mean, I'm really into Bazane as well. He took last week off, but again, that may not be a bad thing. We saw Chris Kirk skip an elite event and then come in the week after in a weaker field event and just dominate. And he was playing well before. And it kind of feels like maybe Bazane is in the same category. He's gaining strokes really consistently with his irons. You look at Bentgrass putting splits, there's almost no one better. I kind of agree with you on Hadwin, man. I mean, this is the kind of spot where Hadwin would come alive too. He's played well, actually played well at TPC Scottsdale. I saw it firsthand on Sunday. Just about made an ace on 16 on Sunday. But he's played well at TPC Scottsdale too. So yeah, I think all three of these guys are very good candidates. I'm with you on Bazane now. It's just a solid range. I mean, I don't really feel like you can go wrong with any of these three.
Yeah, and keep an eye. Our ownership will update because JJ Spawn has withdrawn. So some of these guys will get some of Spawn's ownership for sure, of course, as this, as we get more and more information on what's going on. But if you're going balanced and you're going to see some of these lineups later in the show, you can start with a guy in the mid nines and pepper this. You can have 2 or 3 of these type of players right there. I think that's a lot of win equity. And as we work down in the mid range, now we've got, Davis Riley, Will Gordon, Brandon Wu. Justin Suh is a fascinating name. I want to hear your thoughts. He's putting, but he can't do anything else right now. Who in the upper sevens is kind of your go-to target if you have one?
Yeah, the upper sevens is, again, where it goes from guys you feel a little more confident into. I mean, it feels like rolling the dice. I mean, Will Gordon at 12.2% owned is pretty much just going to be again, not an easy pass, but I don't feel necessary for. Well, Gordon has no top tens. I mean, he had that one spike week in Mexico where he was basically just playing for second anyways. He really hasn't done that much. He seems to get a little bit too much respect from the field. Just for me, I think he's an okay cut maker, and that's why. But I actually prefer pretty much everyone else in this range here. I think Brandon Wu is a very good player, and I don't have a problem going back to him. I know you look at Mexico and he gained a bunch of strokes around the greens, but we've also seen from him, like his approach game can get up there, especially on some easier courses. I don't have a problem going back to Brandon Wu. I don't think that the field is necessarily like on him hugely because he didn't play last week either. So I could be wrong about that. Oh no, I'm not. The field is on Brandon Wu. So I'll just backtrack that statement, but that's fine. Like I still like him as a player. And like, I think that there's a decent talent discrepancy right now between guys like Stallings and Wu in that range. So no problem there. I think the decisions are Justin Suh, Davis Riley. Yeah. Are you going to roll with the talent or not? I don't know, man. Justin Suh is a very, very talented player. I think you're well within your rights to go to him. If this guy's putter heats up, I mean, he's going to be within like 10 feet on every hole on a soft course. So I really have no problem. I'd certainly rather play him than Sam Stevens, but he's really not, he's not been in tune for a while. So, Justin Suh's miscut equity is he definitely missed the cut. Let's just put it that way. But I don't mind rolling the dice with these players, but just know what you're getting into, I guess, is the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, okay, Taylor Montgomery and those type of guys. Like Justin Suh is struggling just as badly as them, and his putter is just as deadly as them in some ways. So you know what you're getting into. With him, he's got a lot of risk. I'll leave it at that. But Sam Stevens is really someone that's shaping up to be pretty popular, and I get it. I've been impressed. Watched him at Valero destroy me and a lot of other lineups. Then he regressed, but Harbor Town, not a good course for him. Wells Fargo made a cut, lost 3 strokes putting. It seems like his driver heavy approach could be pretty good here. What do you make of him in the mid sevens?
I mean, again, we don't have a huge sample size. So typically these kind of players, especially when, he's pushing well over 10% owned. I'm just okay fading. And again, like if he was in the low 7Ks, it would be a different story, but he's up there with Justin Suh and even SH Kim above him, man. Like These are just we got bigger samples. We know Justin Suh's an elite talent. I would feel comfortable going to either of those players, to be honest. I don't want to say I'm like completely out on this guy, but for this tournament, if everyone's going to kind of pile in on him in this range, and you've got a lot lower ownership on Suh or even Kim, I'll take it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Again, this is to me all relative to how you're starting. Like if you've got Jason Day up top and Scheffler, I'm not sure that Brandon Wu and these guys are the clicks. You're gonna have to change it up. Now, if you say, you know what, I'm gonna start like balance with KH Lee and something like that, go to safety in the mid range. Like you've leveraged, you're probably gonna be unique.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. As we work down, your boy Aaron Rye is here. Eric Cole, Shank is going to be potentially popular. That's a little surprising. And then you've got the Bombers, Higo and Champ. Kazire, who has waste management splits, if you want to go that route. A lot of interesting names in the lower sevens.
Yeah, I mean, lower sevens, again, like I think when you start to look at it, there's a couple names, but it's not that much different than what you're going to see in the 6K range this week either, at least the high 6K. So decisions. Someone threw a Cole in the chat. I think it was Stewie. I definitely don't mind that call. A guy who can get hot with the putter, seems to take care of easier courses a little bit better. Pebble Beach, obviously Mexico T5 again. I could definitely see Eric Cole popping up here. It's Garrick Higo. Who the hell knows what he's going to do? He could win. He could shoot 74. But you could mix him in if you want. I prefer Cam Champ. Cam Champ, again, Texas. I really like going to the Texas guys in Texas. It's simple, but there just seems to be something with it. They feel more comfortable here. A lot of these guys have played these courses. Champ, I believe, is actually from Dallas as well, or based out of Dallas. He's born in Sacramento, but plays out of here. Played really well here last season. Gained a ton of strokes ball striking. Again, Cam Champ missed the cut last week. Okay, people were expecting maybe that was the come up, but you know what? Like it was only 2 weeks ago where he was close to the top 10, gained a bunch of strokes, and now he's on just a course where he's just gonna be able to bomb it off every tee. And if the approaches are even half decent, another player where a bad putter, you could just see him potentially spike here. So I prefer Cam Champ if you're going to take a shot down here. I'm with you on the Shank ownership. I think the Shank thing is just, who else do you turn to down here? I mean, I kind of like Davis Thompson, but like he's been terrible. I just kind of like the setup for him, but I don't necessarily like how he's playing. Kazire, I don't know how much confidence you can have there. The guy I think is really interesting. I do like actually is Nate Lashley.
Nasty Nate.
Nasty is a good course for Lashley, man. I mean, irons and putter. That's what he does. He can't scramble. Not really that big off the tee. Doesn't matter too much here, but if these irons get going, he gets confident on the greens. That's how he won in Detroit. 25 under, same kind of course. I think Nate Lashley is a really good play down there. And I don't mind going to those veteran Texas guys like Palmer and Walker either, to be honest.
So yeah, that's the guy I wanted to ask you about. Jimmy Walker himself has really found it. Gamed across the board. And it leads us to a rank 'em from chat. Jimmy Walker, Dylan Wu, or Higo?
Oh yeah, Dylan Wu. Okay, so Dylan Wu is far and above A for me. He is. I don't even know why. I just missed him. I
feel like they miss him
Dylan
every
Wu
week. He just plays well every week, and then nothing changes.
Nothing changes, and now he's in a weaker field. He's gaining strokes, ball striking every week, and the putter has found confidence too. Like if this is the week where you said Dylan Wu finally pops and like finishes fifth, I would agree with that statement. I mean, I think that's very viable. He's by far and away the top play for me under here at 75. And then the other two were Walker and
Higo.
I mean, Higo's last.
Higo's last.
I don't know what the hell he's going to do. Jimmy Walker's probably good for a 25th. That's what he's been doing every week. Like I said, he's from Texas. The putter is working. The ball striking is actually pretty good. I mean, we may even have a little room to grow here, gain a few more on an easier course. Who knows? But yeah, no, I think Walker's fine. I really do. He's only 71. That's the other thing. I mean, he just gets you through the cut, puts in one good round on the weekend. You're really not doing too poorly. So
I'm fine with it. Again, it's that same somewhat broken record, like random number generators, Higo and Champ. Jimmy Walker's a little more consistent. Dylan Wu to me is just the best player down here.
Yeah.
Any Euros? Jesse likes Vincent Norman. Okay. EVR is down here. He's South African. He also kills me every week. I'm trying to manually prevent myself.
I saw your lineup.
I can't. It's not even like, oh,
the
that
intervention is coming.
It's just stupidity though that he weasels his way into lineups every week.
It's like, I know, it's like, oh, I'm just throwing him into one, and then he ends
it
up
won't
the
matter.
Exact one that you needed him not to be on. Yeah.
I'm not joking. I wish I had data for this. He is only on 5 of 6s. I've never had a lineup where EVR where it's like, oh, I had 4 guys miss the cut and he was one of them. He only is on lineups where he exclusively misses the cut. It's insanity what goes on here. But I got a guy. I've got a true YOLO play. It's David Lipsky. David Lipsky has not been playing good golf at all.
Nope.
But the approaches have been good. The putter is broken. He's been getting dominated on Bermuda greens. Give me the switch. He thrives on easy courses. He's got 1 career win over here on the Korn Ferry Tour in San Antonio.
Ooh,
I really think that this is a pretty interesting spot. This is a true 1%er. Lipsky's got some talent, and the stats are way better than the form. He has done absolutely nothing. He's won in Texas before. The putter, he's lost 7 of 8. He switches to bent grass, easy course. This is the type of week a guy like that could pop pretty easily in my mind.
Yeah, he's definitely got a little bit of that KH Lee action, gaining strokes.
When he gets going, he goes low.
Absolutely. I mean, and like again, coming back to the kind of courses he's gone low on. 4th at Sony, again, softer greens there, easier scoring conditions, top 10 in Mexico, Corrales. This is where he's going to potentially pop. If he's ever going to win an event or something, it's here. So love that San Antonio call too. So I like Lipsky, man. He's won multiple times over in Europe.
Yeah.
Against decent fields. Like, he is a good player. I admit, I kind of just skipped over him this week because I just looked at his record and I'm like,
because
I'm just going to save myself some time because it looks too bad. So
yes,
but I kind of with you here. I mean, I like him as a player, so I don't need too much encouragement, but he is definitely the kind of guy. Look, you're looking for a KH Lee prototype. Lipsky does 2 things well. He can get hot with his putter. He's not a great putter, but he can get hot with it on easier courses, and he hits his irons well, long irons, like through the bag. So, yeah, good prototype player for sure. I like it.
All right. We're going to go to the salary savers, but I do want to say real quick, again, the PGA Championship is coming up. The golf season is heating up. We have all sorts of packages from monthly. If you want to go and get prize picks, the link is in the description. Or if you just want to test out the tools, we have 50% off any weekly premium subscription. You go down there, you click the link. I can't say strongly enough, the worst case scenario for you. You check it out for a couple bucks and you say, this is not something that I want as part of my process. And we totally respect that. We hope that in the future, maybe you come back around. But if you don't ever try it, you're not going to know. And the tools, again, you see the screenshots. We got sharp people here believing in this stuff. And I believe in it. I wouldn't call myself one of the super bosses like Steve Buzzard, who has taken down all contests for like 2 months straight in every sport. But yeah, 50% off. Go check that stuff out. Again, all that is in the links below. But if you do use Scheffler or you pay up for a couple spots, you got to find some goblins down in the 6K range, the real slappies. We had a question about Bryce Garnett. He's 6,900. He's pretty good in Mexico. He's good at Corrales. Is he a name for you? Is Pearson Cody, Kramer Hick? Who is the guy in the 6s?
I mean, first of all, there's no guy in the 6s. This
That's
is what
correct.
you said. This is just picking the best of the worst. Garnett. I mean, yeah, Garnett, look, this is like his bread and butter, man. I mean, he could easily, push for a top 20. It's fine. I mean, I think Garnett's probably more of like a player likely to get you like a T30. I'm just going to go to my 6K guys here. Okay. So I mean, I have a few guys I actually like further down, but just looking at like the top of the range. Again, we brought up Garnett. I guess I don't hate that call. Harry Higgs has been okay at points. I think like try and get back on Harry Higgs on a softer golf course makes some sense. He's just another one where we're throwing that basket where his putter can come alive on certain courses. He wouldn't be called a consistently great putter, but he's certainly capable of spiking with that club. So that gives us a couple outs. I actually don't hate going to O'Hare.
Yeah.
I really don't. Texas guy. He shot 66 in Mexico and then just bombed out with a 77. It was Mexico. A million things could have happened. He could have had like a bad taco or something. But
Gotcha.
Like an easier course for him right now. He's a decent putter. I actually think Sean O'Hare is not a bad play here at all. He's proven like in these weaker events, top 20, like 11th at Bermuda, even at 20th at Valspar. He's not playing poorly. He can get it out there a little bit too. So I think O'Hare is actually like a decent target. Going back to our guy, Carson Young, why not? I mean, who cares? He missed the Wells Fargo by a stroke. Not a big deal. He's playing pretty good golf too. So I think all those guys in the 67 range are decent. I like Kevin Chappell down here though.
Oh yeah. The chat just pointed Michael Yarbo, who also he did super chat us with Wyndham Clark in the question last week. He just mentioned Kevin Chappell.
Yeah.
What Kevin Chappell was playing good golf.
Yeah. I think that again, you're looking at players who maybe just, are a week away or just need like that kind of perfect setup for them. I think Chappell's it. The approaches are there. Chappell was pretty elite ball striker once back in the day, folks. Like a guy who would come in kind of like that Luke List where he just needed to learn how to putt. He's actually putted okay in spots. He's just seems like going through a bit of a dip with that club. I put Chappell in my first round leader bets. I won't be shocked to see him shoot like a 64 or something this week. Again, I'm not predicting like some kind of Chappell win from the clouds, but I think as a play down here makes a ton of sense. Absolutely.
And it was a while ago, but let's be clear. Kevin Chappell, he was a winner on tour. Where did he win? TPC San Antonio, Texas again.
Absolutely.
It's like Lipsky, but that's neither a little different. But I really like Chappell. It's pretty dire down here. I mean, I got a couple of other. So Cody Gribble, the Gribbler, I have seen some people mention him. I kind of get it. He can do some things. He can get hot with the putter, but it's a little hit or miss. He was good at Valspar and he was good at Puerto Rico. Marty Dew is down here. He's a pretty good off the tee player, but I think if you're taking guys down here, you're really just spraying and praying. I don't see any indication why one of these guys would play well.
So I have one dude down here, and actually Nate mentioned him in chat. Kevin Roy. I actually feel pretty confident about him, which is probably the kiss of death. But what we've seen from him is again his like you look at his long iron stuff and just the way he hits his ball. It's pretty solid, man. Like he's right up there. He's a consistent player with those irons, which I like because if you're consistent with your irons on a course like this, you're going to have birdie chances and you're going to give yourself chances to get out with the putter. It's good in Mexico. I like it, man. I think at 65, again, if you're looking to double up down here, like Chappell, Roy, O'Hare, I think they're viable names in a field like this. So again, it's not a strong, like, must play, like this guy's, but if I'm going down here, that is definitely the name I'm clicking on first. I don't hate the Gribble call either, but I feel more confident with Roy. He's shown consistent iron play, and I like that. And I think it's going to shine through in an event like this. So under him, it is, I don't know, man, throw a dart.
Kevin Roy. I don't know if it's because I watched Succession or I just am not paying attention that I'm just like, I don't know about this Roy character. All right, last name, and then we're gonna build a lineup. And I'm not saying to play this guy, but I was asking you before the show. So David, what's this guy's name? David Micheluzzi is a name that I have seen some people mention. He's over here. He's been tearing it up in Australia. It's just, it's the age-old level of competition. Like, I don't know who's in those fields, and I don't know who this is. and I'm going to leave it at that. But he has been playing good golf just against not fields like this even.
I'll give you a big, I don't know. I mean, we did a little bit of quick Google searching before. He's, I thought he was a little bit younger. I thought he's more amateur, but he's more just a younger player on the rise. In a way, I kind of like that better than him being an amateur because he's played quite a bit of golf. So he's probably going to come over here and be like, you know what? Like I'm, like maybe I'm actually better than the bottom end of this field. Maybe I should be good. I actually don't hate it, to be honest, taking a shot with him. I usually just avoid these guys. And that's probably what I'll do with him. But, he's just considering the names he's around. The carcass of Dylan Fratelli and CT Penn, Brandon Matthews. I mean, I think it's actually reasonable to take a shot. But again, we like Chappell, we like Roy. As people are throwing out in the chat, I don't know. Wait and see. Take a wait and see approach. He's gonna be on the field next week. That's why he's here. Got a PGA of America invite.
I hope he comes in like second this week, and then people will play him next week. And
that would actually be really good.
That would be a generational fade spot at Oak Hill. But what do you say, Jordan Klein, if you're still with us? I know you're probably watching the Maple Leafs game. But if you're not, you want to build a lineup? Still 1-0. The boys.
Winning? Are they actually winning a game?
They're winning. They scored on a weird deflection. All right. Here we go.
Out here hosting and watching
I didn't say that. I've been getting updates telepathically. Where do you want to start?
All right, man. We both like this guy. Let's go Tom Kim.
Tom Kim.
It's time. Buying in.
It's gonna be pretty simple. I'm going best available. I mean, I have two guys in mind, but Steven Yeager. I mean, he fits every build. He's in the mid range. Tom Kim and Steven Yeager to get things started.
All right. Just gonna do a quick ownership check on the Stokastic ownership projections, which if you were trying this week, you'd have access to. Dylan Wu, man, is trending with like 8% ownership. Why? I will say this. If you're playing higher stakes contests, Dylan Wu is probably going to be like way higher owned than in the bigger fields and the smaller buy-ins. But Dylan Wu, let's throw him in. I just think he's the best play down there.
Yeah, I have no issues with him either. Just again, solid, and I'm just gonna keep going with guys that I really like. Bez is just playing great. He's able to handle conditions with weather, wind, stupidity. None of this stuff is going to bother him. So we've got Dylan Wu. We've got Christian Bezettenhout. We're doing our best, Jordan Klein, to avoid the real terrible names for you.
All right. Well, this is interesting because we can really fill it out quick here with two guys. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's go Hatton. And I might give you the gimme for the end here.
Yeah, it's again, this lineup makes itself. Of course, when we take Tano Goya. No, don't do that. Of course, yeah. And the beautiful thing
here, maybe do that every I don't know.
Maybe. But if you say to yourself, you know what? I don't for me it's obviously going to be Chappell. But say it's not Chappell for you. You've got 20 other guys down here that are all relatively equal. You could take Kevin Tway, Marty Dew, Brandon Matthews, this Australian guy. I get it. Like, you have ample opportunities there, and you could even go say, okay, I need a little extra. I'm going to go to Decky, and now you're up to 7 flat. So a lot of fun options there. I love that build. Non-Scheffler lineups really, really help this week. Doesn't mean don't play Scheffler all the time, but it does show you the power of not using him when you start sub 10K. You actually can go get Hatton. We didn't even think to do that, until the end there. So there we have it, friends. Again, I know it's the Byron Nelson. For a lot of you guys, it's a warm-up, and we get it, but can't say it again. The link, just go to the link and at least check out those offers. If they're not for you, they're not for you, but they're there for you guys to be part of the Stokastic family. Our data and tools, the team does a fantastic job. The PGA lineup generator, at 50% off weekly, all the other things for our sponsors of Prize Picks. If you bet365, it's all down there for you guys. Next week, PGA Championship. Whew. You ready for Oak Hill?
Yeah, man, definitely looking forward to a little Northeast action for the majors.
Rochester, I think.
some guys coming in with pretty good form, man, already. You know, like it's gonna be good, man. And got the live guys back too. I mean,
can't wait.
You know, I'm excited for it. I've been ready for it for like 3 weeks, to be honest. But you know, we'll get through this one. Hopefully, I just want it to end on Sunday. Please, God, don't let this be a Monday finish.
That would be awful.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna root for. If you have any questions throughout the week, we are around at the Fantasy Grind at JazzRaz DFS. Jordan Klein behind the glass, as always, hanging out with us. We appreciate you, sir. Good luck, everyone. Enjoy. Thanks for stopping by PGA Live Before Lock. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Go oil.
Oh man.